First question, describe the moment you knew you were going to be part of the MCU.
Mm. I found out I was going to be part of the MCU after a meeting I had, top secret meeting, which was also a whole new world for me, with the director Matt Shackman, the amazing writer Jack Schaefer, and our producer Mary Lavanos, in an office at Marvel, where I was escorted in and escorted out. Everything felt very top secret, and they laid out the idea for this show to me. And I was in my wildest dreams, could not imagine a a character or entrance in this world that would be more fun, more trippy, more surreal, or more delicious than this one. I mean, it's just can't believe it. Still can't believe it. Can't believe I get to see I'm in the MCU, and that my first appearance is walking through a door in a 1950s black and white sitcom. Just makes zero sense to me.
Why do you think fans love Wanda and Vision and their relationship so much?
I think fans love Wanda and Vision, and their sweet relationship in the same way that I do. I can't speak for all fans, but I know that when I saw those movies with my kids who are now older, but when I saw those movies for the first time, I remember through all of that, like, beautiful mayhem and this like huge, all those huge set pieces, like there, I remember being so struck by this little teeny heartbeat in the middle of them, which was the chemistry between Lizzie and Paul and those two characters. And there's something so true and so real and so small and so beautiful between the two of them, those characters. And I think that's why fans it really resonated with people, because in the middle of all of this grandiose, amazing superhero stuff that we have come to know and love, there was this teeny little love story. And I think that's why people are so excited about this series, is because it lets us drop into that and spend some more time with them that those big beautiful movies have not afforded us to yet.
Great. Where we find Wanda and Vision as this series kicks off, and who do you play?
We find Wanda and Vision as a newly married couple who have just moved to the town of Westview, which is a very nice suburb. It's a suburban town of it's a very nice suburban town, and I play Agnes, their next door neighbor. And she happens to be, in a very familiar way, the neighbor that just kind of pops by unannounced, offers a lot of advice, solicited and non, has a lot of loves gossip and loves to kind of show her the ropes of this new town, and also kind of make fun of it.
Is there anyone you channeled in portraying Agnes?
I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's so many. I sitcoms are so embedded in like my personhood as like a comfort place, I think, from when I was a kid. And so like I see so many, like, there's Ethel, there's Evan Nora, there's the guy from Seinfeld, can't remember his name. There's like Lenny and Squiggy, or there's so many of these in every single sitcom that we know and love. There's that neighbor character that's always there with just like friendly advice, wanted or not wanted, that always happens to plop themselves on the couch, and almost seems to like just live, almost just be living in the house, nothing about their own personal life, but they're just there. And I feel like I was so fun to pay homage to all those amazing actors and characters.
What did you think when you first heard about the concept for WandaVision?
I mean, I had them repeated to me a couple of times. because it was very trippy. And then I was so juiced up and just inspired that Kevin Feige and all of them were going to take this kind of a artistic and creative just swing, because it is really truly unlike anything the MCU has ever done. And it is um it's so multi-layered, and it is, I was just like mouth to the floor, like, how are you going to pull this off? And I am so pleased to say that it has, so far what I've seen has exceeded anything that I'm just so excited for the planet to see it.
How did you prepare for the classic sitcom style?
We had I prepared for this sitcom style by just watching a lot of them. Um as a child myself, so I was already born ready. Um, and also we did a sitcom boot camp, all of us, together, the cast, our director Matt Shackman and the writer Jack Schaefer. When we first got together to do this way back when, we all had like 3 weeks to rehearse and watch basically sitcoms for every era that we would be dropping into, for every genre. And so for the 50s, it was Dick Van Dyke. We watched a ton of Dick Van Dyke. For the 60s, it was Bewitched, and then onward and onward. But um, that's how we prepared. We had an amazing dialect coach by the name of Courtney Young, who just gifted us with so much auditory material, interviews, commercials, just source material from the 50s and then from the 60s on, so that we could just like, I would just be walking around listening to voices. And she was an enormous help of getting that exact voice, because it actually lives in a different place in your throat. And so that was it. That was an enormous help. And then those costumes. I mean, Maya, the designer, is just a goddess. And once you put that corset on and you have to speak higher and wear those heels all the time and nylons, like, it's a whole other ball game. And it just makes me very grateful to be able to wear tennis shoes and sweatpants underneath this Zoom that you're watching right now. A lot of work.
Can you describe the efforts behind the scenes, from costumes to production design to dialect coach, to ensure the classic style with authentic throughout each era?
Yes, I mean, from every level of, in terms of production for this, the artists working behind the scenes to realize these eras were just mind blowing. Um, I mean, the production design was extraordinary, from every little detail in there. Um, the costumes, as you could tell, is just a wizard, and she just made such unbelievable, from the undergarments on, like you were in the period. She even dressed the background of uh, the audience, for our live audience. I mean, the camera operators. I mean, she outdid herself. Everybody, the hair, the makeup. My team was unbelievable. The best wigs I've ever, like, all of it. Like, these artists that we worked with were incredible. And as I was talking before, Courtney Young, who was our dialect coach, really worked at not only just like going through different sounds, but just flooding our inboxes in the best way. As an actor, it's like my favorite thing, with source material from the actual era. So we got, like, it was like commercials and interviews and sound bites and things that I would just be able to like listen to and kind of find the vibe that way. um, all of it. So from every department, we were just, for every era that we moved into, we were just like cocooned in that, in that world and in that space. and really in that era, like I was just blown away by the artists that worked on this. Props, like I mean, everybody was working at the top of their game.
Now you talked about the costume. So what did you have a favorite costume?
Yes, I mean, I really, I love that 50s costume so much. I mean, and it's so crazy because you can't see it. The black and white wardrobes are so beautiful, and if you were to see those in color, you can't believe how vivid and incredible they are. But because she knows exactly what colors, which is like beyond me, but because she knows what colors would pop the most in black and white and on that kind of in that kind of camera, she was able to pick the perfect ones to like. And just if you would have it's amazing to think of us walking around in those costumes that would never even be seen in these incredible colors. I mean, it was pretty amazing.
Describe, you talked about this a little bit, but describe the experience of shooting episode one in front of the live audience.
Yes, so we shot the 50s episode in front of a live audience. um the live audience, which was of course very daunting, but the positive of it, and as an actor, it's like my dream, was that we were able to rehearse it together as a company, really, for like 3 weeks beforehand, and we were able to go through kind of like a sitcom boot camp almost. So we rehearsed it, I mean, to the T, because all of those things are all, obviously so much about just timing. It's like doors and yada 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 yada. It's like, and all the things that you see Wanda doing in the kitchen, like those were, it's like period effects. So it's like wires and it's not like CGI or anything. It's all like wires and things like that. So it took a long time to rehearse, and the laughs that you hear are the laughs from the studio audience from the day that we shot it, which is also pretty incredible. Also, props to everybody that was sitting in there and kept that a secret for so long. I know you had to sign a gazillion things, but it's just pretty amazing that happened, and that we were able to pull that off is pretty extraordinary. The script is written by Jack Schaefer. The scripts were written so to the era that they're in. So the jokes, especially in the 50s, are so charmingly baked into the 1950s that I think that a lot of us were like wondering if a modern audience watching it live was going to find it funny. And we were so surprised once we got there as to how many like laughs were coming. Like it was just such a charming, delightful, beautiful, nostalgic day, and we were racing around behind the scenes with quick changes and props, and I mean, it was mayhem in the best kind of a way. And it was like, I again can't believe that was my introduction to the MCU.
Can you talk about working with Lizzie and Paul for the series?
I as I love I have been a huge fan of Lizzie Olsen's for a bazillion years, and I was so excited to get to work with her and to know her. I think she's such an extraordinary actor and has such integrity and depth as a human being and as a performer. And Paul as well, like the both of their chemistry together in the MCU is so tender and so true, and especially in the middle of all of those beautiful set pieces and all of those superheroes, to have like that real true thing, which is that love story. I was so excited to be able to work with the both of them as performers, because I just think they're extraordinary. They're both so, and they check all the boxes that I as a performer is like the way to my heart. Like they're incredibly hard workers, they're diligent, they're craftspeople, they're not precious, they look after themselves, like they just want to work. They're like they're decent good people. They like, I'm just, Lizzie, I got to spend a lot of time with, and she's just a tremendous, tremendous, tremendous human being. I care about her deeply, and I just think she's also an extraordinary performer.